我在北京。
First, sex or relationship, which comes first? In the West, people always have sex.
Again, vast majority of Chinese never adopt racist, sexist, and misogynist.
Now, both me and my buddy Winston are no strangers to these pretty propagandist women because we know how effective they can actually be. We'll oftentimes have people reach out to us and say, hey, well, did you see this channel? How authentic is this woman? I get kind of weird vibes because she keeps talking about how great the Chinese government is, but she seems like a nice girl. And that really shows the Chinese Communist Party that they can get an army of simps. They can build that army, not necessarily to fight the Chinese government's battles, but to at least be apathetic to what the government's doing because, hey, they have a crush on a girl that kind of thinks the government's great. So it's a weird thing they're trying to create is millions of people that will simp for China, not necessarily on the front lines, but maybe in the background. Maybe they'll run defense for them. And that really serves the purpose of furthering China's goals. China's goals are a little bit different than other countries. They don't want to be in your face saying, hey, we're the best thing since sliced bread. They want to operate their nefarious purposes in the background where you're sitting there being apathetic to the whole situation or just not knowing what's going on. The thing is, we've dealt with them in the past. There was a channel called The Story of Xinjiang by Gu Li. And what this was the Chinese government took a couple girls in Xinjiang, Western China, to do genocide denial propaganda. You know, to go out there and say, hey, we're here on the ground in Xinjiang. There's no genocide around here. We are Uyghurs, we know. The thing is, we were watching propaganda spout out of the Chinese government left and right about how there was no genocide, even forcing people to go around on interview talking about how much they hated Mike Pompeo and all this other kind of absolute craziness that people wouldn't even be aware of there. So when they had some pretty girls go out there and talk about genocide denial propaganda, we immediately knew what was up, but we didn't take it personally until they started to put ads on our channels. And yes, I'm not even joking, the Chinese government actually paid for ads to go on our channels about Xinjiang, to run them beforehand to show these pretty girls saying that there's no genocide in Xinjiang. They were actually using Google SEO to make sure that their message was the first one that you saw before you watched our content. You can't remove what Winston and I were saying, but what you can do is make sure that your message is heard first. Fortunately, after enough exposés and doing enough research, pointing out every single fallacy and everything that was wrong about them, the tide turned against the fake Gu Li sisters and China actually sent them out to pasture completely. In fact, if you look on the Chinese internet, their feeds are blank. They stopped using them for disseminating propaganda.
And how about my ponytail?
And it has not been unblocked for we were banned.
Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the top anchor of them all?
You're the top anchor, dear.
I know I'm not.
We've also seen similar things like with someone named Dear Wang, which is this presenter slash singer slash whatever you want to call her, that was on Chinese state media as well. We would point out the fallacies of what she was talking about. We would point out the mistakes. We would point out how the propaganda doesn't work. And in fact, we have not seen one upload since then about her either. So we're no stranger to this game. But that doesn't mean China is stopping trying to build their army of simps. In fact, they're just doubling down and making more and more influencers left and right.
You told me you've had enough of me and had fallen in love with another bitch. Where is she?
I wonder why they call her Miss Wow. Wow.
The role of these pretty women to kind of sway opinion amongst the populace abroad also has different purposes. For example, we've seen them rebrand over and over and over again when their purpose doesn't work out anymore. So for example, this one here, Techie Rachel, or now she's known as Miss Wow China.
Hey babes, I'm Miss Wow from China.
Wow.
Started out as a kind of tech channel to show off the developments or advancements of China. How amazing China's development is, and look at how they're producing all of this silicon technology and competing with the West. But then when they realized that that wasn't really getting views or that wasn't the propaganda narrative, they decided to rebrand her. But most importantly, they decided to rebrand her after she was slapped with a Facebook label as state-affiliated media and linked her directly to the Chinese Communist Party. Now, after the rebrand, they decided to call her not Rachel, but Miss Wow. And her new job would be to go around and take other foreign agents around that go and spread Chinese propaganda to different parts of China to show off how beautiful it is or how amazing it is. Basically a glorified tour guide. That didn't perform the way that they wanted it to, so eventually they rebranded her again. They kept her name Miss Wow, but this time they would actually just have her sitting there talking about how amazing the Russian military weaponry is. I kid you not. What happened was when China decided to partner up with Russia and decided that the West was the great enemy of the world, they decided that they'd help each other's propaganda departments out. You can often see them going back and forth on Russian media and Chinese state media hosting their different propaganda agents with one of the greatest anime crossovers in the history of mankind between two authoritarian despotic dictatorships. Now, Miss Wow basically sits there and talks about how amazing the Chinese and Russian military equipment is with no understanding.
That is a nuclear missile. Do you like it?
Air-to-air missiles.
Hey guys, Miss-Wow here. Hey guys, Miss-Wow here.
She sits there and just memorizes scripts and tries to sound impressive, but I can tell you that her next job will follow whatever the Chinese government wants to promote at that time.
Love you, bye.
The way that China's really leveling up in this scenario is creating a massive network of social media influencers. They're spreading cleverly disguised Chinese propaganda in dozens of countries to a combined audience of over 11 million followers. These are ones that can be proven. The actual scope goes much bigger, into the thousands of creators. Clint Watts and his team did a great report on this, but basically there's a massive network of mostly pretty female influencers.
Generally, these influencers appear to follow a somewhat uniform three-pronged strategy whenever crafting their messages.
Rapport building. Influencers seek to connect with the audience by expressing an appreciation for the targeted country's language, culture, and sometimes its religion. You see, before, when it was lazy and we called it out and the Chinese government moved on to greener pastures, it didn't really stick because it wasn't targeted to that country. But now, China realizes that if you speak that country's language, or if you get an influencer that speaks Hebrew or Portuguese or Arabic, then it's much more personal than watching a person attempt to speak English. Especially if you pretend to latch onto their religious beliefs or local culture. Positive promotion of China, this content tends to advance a positive view of Chinese culture, the Chinese language, and the country's technological innovations and economic progress. China seeks to make sure that that country uses them as an example of future progress, especially in third world or developing countries, instead of looking towards the West. Oddly enough, China is not an immigrant nation and does not accept immigration. So the propaganda stops short of actually allowing opportunity and just making sure that those people allow investment in their own country. Counter-narrative. Interspersed among rapport building and cultural content, influencers often include posts advancing a political narrative or a rebuttal to criticisms of China. These messages tend to be tailored to the target audience. For example, Arabic-speaking influencers often dispute accusations of Muslim minority oppression inside of China, like Uyghur forced labor in Xinjiang cotton fields. And China knows that if it wants to spread its lies and deception across the world, it's better to do it through an attractive and charismatic person. There's no better place to see this in terms of just sheer scope of what the Chinese government's trying to throw at the wall and see if it sticks, than to go on TikTok and look through some of the creators on there. One that I'd like to focus on today is called Yating. And Yating is a bilingual TV host from Beijing. She studied and got her master's degree in the US and is the perfect example of someone that can be groomed to start spreading straight up disinformation and propaganda. Her videos serve to deceive you and put you on a path that says, hey, that allegation of forced labor and concentration camps in Xinjiang that I heard on CNN or NBC or Fox or whatever, I guess that's not true because this is a real bilingual TV host. Just like the TV host back home, that's actually telling me that that's not true. With a little digging, you can find out she actually works for the government. She is in a straight up party-controlled CCTV position where she goes around the world and masquerades as some sort of movie reviewer. This, I guess, gives her the technical credentials to call herself a host. She's met a lot of celebrities, and I guess that's enough to, if you look it up, say, you know, she's actually gotten around and looks fairly trustworthy. But here's the deal. Every single video she puts out is deflection and real, straight up lies.
CC men must be curbed, and thus triggered tons of debates. Many argues that we should respect gender diversity, while others claim of the negative impact on the new generation.
Well, that's not reflected in your government's policies, my dear Yating. What about sissy boys? They were banned from Chinese media. The masculinity crisis that's been created so that men feel more pressured to be manly, apparently like the Chinese government officials, because that's the epitome of manliness. Nothing says manly like smoking 2 packs a day, getting erectile dysfunction, and becoming a functioning alcoholic after binge drinking at corrupt government meetings, while achieving that beautiful potbelly stance and beating your wife when you get home. Now that's manly.
The young kids will aspire to be superheroes to save the world by the education of Marvel or DC movies. If the CC adults became the mainstream and the teenagers who are the future of the country were negatively impacted, we feel it would be a threat, and we will question if they are able to define our country.
Yeah, if you're learning values from Marvel or DC movies, I think we have bigger problems. Also, straight up using masculinity crisis vocab straight out of Xi Jinping's book kind of outs you as a Chinese propagandist.
In big cities, you are able to witness gay and lesbian dating not only in clubs and bars, but also frequently and normally in daily life.
How good is it to be gay in China? Well, looks like you're at the bottom of the barrel, China.
LGBTQ in China. We are becoming more and more open on homosexuality.
Don't you dare start saying that it's okay to be LGBTQ in China. It's absolutely not the case. What's up with the white face, by the way? I promise you, I did not do this. I did not do this.
But that's actually because of the cold lightning in the late evening, not the white makeup. Interestingly, some people link this to white supremacy.
Oh, it looks like she finally addressed the white face.
But I never expected to receive many emails from my followers asking where I was and saying I'm their favorite TikToker.
Guys, you gotta stop white knighting for this. And if you don't know what white knighting means, it means like kind of defending a girl on the internet just because you think that she's gonna give you attention. You're not simping for Yating. You're actually simping for Xi Jinping.
But if I talk something common, even nothing negative about China, then some Chinese will show up and scold me that I'm not able to represent all the Chinese.
When faced with accusations that somebody is in fact a Chinese propagandist or they're working for the Chinese government, they'll often say, no, actually I get attacked by Chinese people all the time, with some absolutely deceptive claim that they're going after her opinions because they just can't accept it because she's just so open-minded. It's pure nonsense.
China, we have a term called 剩女, literally means leftover women. Women are yin that should be soft and tranquil. This is good features of being wives for Chinese men.
Yeah, the whole 剩女thing, that's a real thing. And to play that down does a huge disservice for women's rights in China, which have a long way to go.
It's misunderstanding that the Chinese eat human placenta.
Not only do a ton of people eat placenta, but also dog meat is regularly consumed. Now that's not an issue for some people, but the problem I have with it is that all of these propaganda channels serve to tell you that there are no dog meat restaurants in China, when in fact there are thousands, tens of thousands. Every single place in China has a dog meat restaurant, if not many.
Chinese culture in Squid Game. Green tracksuit worn by the players is originally from China.
The green tracksuit is not Chinese culture. The only Chinese culture in Squid Game is the copy of it because it was banned in China. It's a really good technique that a lot of these propagandists use, is they use pop culture references that don't even exist in China to deceive the other people that are watching it, saying, oh yeah, they watch Squid Games just like me. China actually banned Christmas, and then they faced backlash from the West, right? Now, did they reverse that ban? No. Do you want proof? They literally made kids in school denounce it and say that they would only celebrate Chinese holidays.
I'm going to start to make long version episodes about 15 minutes each on my YouTube channel.
Oh no, so she's got a YouTube channel coming now. It better be designated as Chinese state media, something that I've been fighting for non-stop. You see, when these propaganda channels pop up on YouTube or Twitter, they're supposed to have a label that says that they are funded by the Chinese government, because they in fact are. Twitter allows you to report accounts and they can be designated as such if they find enough proof, but YouTube doesn't allow you to report a channel based on this, and that's a serious issue because of the hundreds, if not thousands of accounts that are popping up to spread Chinese propaganda and are not labeled as such.
Why Facebook and Twitter are all blocked in China, but we have one of the world's largest population, which means demand in the market. At that time, foreign giants were too strong. If they were let in, they are able to quickly occupy the huge Chinese market without leaving any space for our local companies to grow.
No, It was blocked because the Chinese government didn't want outside information to enter the psyche in China and cause dissent. Facebook groups about Chinese democracy were springing up and people were talking about it. I was there. I remember. I was there before they blocked all this stuff. And then after the block as well.
Are you spreading propaganda? Are you the CCP agent trying to brainwash us? Can you talk about the Uyghurs?
So I actually left a comment and she made a rebuttal without mentioning my name. They tend to do this. The Chinese government tends to avoid using my name. It's like Voldemort. They don't want any Chinese people going to find my content. She knows what footage I'm gonna use. You know why? She's got handlers in the CCTV and the entire government that comb through my entire channel and know what kind of footage and what kind of stuff I have access to. Well, I'll show some more.
Homeless are hardly seen on the street in China.
Look at this hilarity as they try to pretend like there's no homelessness in China. Yet propagandists make the claim that there's countless homeless people in the US. Well, there is, but I guess all those thousands of homeless people I saw in China must have been holograms to make me feel more at home.
Chinese citizens are prohibited to own guns in China. Before 1996, we allowed guns, but the security situation at that time was not better than it is now. Now China is quite safe. I don't have to carry a gun to defend myself.
By that token, I guess they gotta make kitchen knives illegal. Oh wait, you do have to register knives with the police in China. Oh, but only if you're a minority in Western China, not if you're Han Chinese. It's a racially motivated law. Also, guns exist. I don't know where this came from. They're used by criminals, go figure.
Why prostitution is illegal in China? Why we don't have a red light zone like Amsterdam?
Prostitution? Are you kidding me? You can find it on Baidu. That's like China's Google. I guess those 15 prostitute cards I got under my door just one time I stayed in a hotel, and the entire area is full of brothels were again just holograms to make me feel welcome.
A couple of apps were blocked in China, and additionally they are blocked, not totally banned. You can still get access by VPN.
This is another dual-pronged approach. VPNs are illegal. They allow you to hop over the Great Firewall of China and see the rest of the internet and participate with the rest of the internet. But guess what? China bans them for their citizens and actually arrests people and sends them to jail when they use them. But the dual-pronged propaganda approach will tell you, oh no, it's fine. Chinese people can use VPNs. How do you think they get on the internet and you see them all over websites like YouTube and stuff? You see, what they do is they try to make you question where your source is coming from. I heard that VPNs are illegal, but Yating told me that they're actually not.
But we all have the Chinese equivalents. And additionally, they are blocked, not totally banned. You can still get access.
Hope you guys enjoyed that. Super fun to put together. I've been working on that video for months, just collecting a lot of these propaganda accounts. And the good thing about this is that there's never a shortage of material for me to cover, but the bad thing is that it seems to be sticking with a certain group of people. So hopefully this video can serve to teach people on how things work and maybe how to avoid the pitfalls of all of this propaganda that's being pushed around by the Communist Party of China. Thank you so much to the people on patreon.com/Laowai86. You guys keep the channel going, support the channel, appreciate it so much. Talk to you guys every single day there. I want to say thank you so much to Laowinners, and I'll catch you on the next one. Clint Watts, the guy that did this whole expose on these influencers from China that go around and spread propaganda on behalf of the Chinese government. He actually did this full-on interview with my buddy Jordan Harbinger, and it's absolutely worth a listen. I definitely recommend after you're done watching this video, go check it out because he talks about how these hostile entities, like the one we're talking about here, they use social media for propaganda and recruitment. He talks about why this kind of creates social media bubbles and how it's super dangerous. Clint also talks about how we can kind of fix this problem, how we can change how much effect this has on our lives, and it's really fascinating. Go down below, it's completely free in the description after the show, and check out the link. Also, my buddy Jordan has an amazing show. People often ask what I listen to in my own free time, what I watch in my own free time. It's my favorite podcast. It's completely free. Definitely go follow it. Go subscribe to it wherever you listen to your podcast. Definitely check it out. It's a fantastic show.